making some wide turns right there. Looks like we're going to be heading back onto the 210 freeway eastbound. There we go. We finally found an on-ramp. You can see the California Highway Patrol a little bit closer, but I don't think that's because he's going to be making some sort of move, trying to pit that trailer. I think it's just because the truck slowed down right there as he's getting his way onto the 210 eastbound, I'm pretty sure. Right now, this is going to be the part of the 134, the tail end right there. But you can see he's making his way through that construction area. I'm going a little bit wider just to get a feel for exactly where we are. But it's definitely on the 210. We can read those signs right there, eastbound 210. And that's where he's going to be headed right now. So it started in the Rancho Cucamonga area. Maybe we're going back. I don't know. Right now, though, we did see some moves out there in in the Pasadena area. He was on the wrong side of the road. He hit pretty much every red light. I heard Sandra talk about it. He was slowing down a little bit. There's no doubt about that. We saw the brake lights come on. But, you know, even slowing down, that's not stopping for a red. Somebody might be just driving, grabbing their coffee or something and not, you know, it's a green light. Why would you look? But we've been lucky so far. You know, Sky 9, we've got the great camera up here like you were talking about with law enforcement. And a few minutes earlier while we were listening to that great information from that officer, I was looking at the trailer and how they hooked it up. I'm going to do it again right now. I just wanted to see, because they said it was stolen, I wanted to see if the wires were hooked up. I wanted to see if this was something where somebody just grabbed it as an opportunity, perhaps. But it does seem like the safety chain is hooked up. It does seem like the lights are hooked up as well. So if they did, they did steal it. The trailer is stolen. They had time to do it. It wasn't. It doesn't seem like it was a rush job. They basically did it correctly. I'm surprised nobody's called saying, hey, that's my trailer, or, you know, I've got lawn equipment in there, I've got DJ equipment in there, I've got nothing in there, maybe even a go-kart, gosh only knows. Those little utility trailers, that's what they're used for, just anything to be able to put in the back of it. Why this guy stole it, how was it reported stolen, that's all interesting in itself. Maybe we'll find that stuff out later on. You were talking about the two people in that front seat, and earlier on, I can feel Marco's really working Sky 9 right now, trying to get that angle so we can look inside there. It seems to be two people inside. I would almost guess two gentlemen. They've been, the only way I can really describe it, and you're just feeling what we're seeing, is relaxed. I don't see any kind of issue inside there. I don't see them, like, you know, scrounging around or making any kind of aggressive moves. They are just driving to drive. Passenger mirror is kind of bumped over. Don't know why he's not going to just roll down the window and straighten it up. But so maybe he hit something earlier on when he was squeezing through some of those side streets, or even on the freeway. You were talking about that, getting by that big rig earlier on. Maybe you got a little close to a wall or something. But the chase continues out here. California Highway Patrol right behind it, that's for sure. And if we stay on these freeways, it probably will be California Highway Patrol till this thing comes to an end. I did hear you guys talk about 2 hours. Is that correct? 2 hours this thing's been going on?
Yeah, it started at 12:30 still. So we're over 2 hours.
Yeah, you got to think, you know, if that thing has a full tank of gas, he might get about double that, but, you know, who knows? Who knows? It seems like I never have a full tank of gas in my car. So you got to wonder, he's got to be thinking, it's got to be getting down there. I mean, 2 hours of drive time, yeah, he's on the freeway, but you just got to wonder, maybe that's going to be the deciding factor. He's just going to run out of gas. You never know what these guys have on their minds. If last minutes of freedom, that could be, you know, the most prominent thing on their minds. You know, usually they're not thinking 3 steps ahead, 4 steps ahead, like, oh, you know what, I'm probably going to wind up going to jail. I could lose my truck over this. So when they run in the beginning, usually you're always just kind of wondering, why didn't you just stop? Why didn't you just pull over? And, you know, if you know it's stolen and there's a reason, talk it out. And if you did steal it, you did the crime, do the time. Now you're just basically dragging it out, adding on a bunch of stuff. But you know what? That's all criminal psychology, and that's beyond my pay grade. Right now, though, I can tell you we're 210 eastbound. We're going to be leaving the Pasadena area. Looks like he's kind of moving over again. He's been off the freeway earlier on. I see San Anita in the foreground. So we are getting close to that area right now. But the traffic, I got to tell you, wide open out here. It's going to be freeway speeds or better if it continues like this. California Highway Patrol, a number of officers behind him, and we know from talking to them earlier on, looks like he's pulling over to the side. Maybe it is either fuel, or maybe he was listening to us and he thought, you know what, I did the crime, I'll take the time. There you go.
Hands out the window.
Just kind of pulling over out here.
Yeah, hopefully
after
he's
2
just
hours,
giving up.
Sandra.
Well, let's see what happens next, Stu. And again, the big question is, what is inside that trailer? I'm guessing there is something inside there, Stu, because it handled pretty well on surface streets, taking tight turns. There's some weight to it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, you know, and we know that, too. I mean, if it would have been empty, it would be bouncing around and all kinds of stuff, especially on the hard turns. He's doing what they're telling him right now, and that basically is hands out the window. I didn't see the keys come out. Maybe those are the keys right there. But they're going to tell him, throw the keys, open the door from the outside. That's what you're seeing right there. This guy obviously knows the seriousness of that situation. You can see how gingerly he's walking around out there, hands out. But remember, the passenger was the one that was, we think, maybe has a weapon. So does that mean he could have passed it to the driver? Of course. So officers from California Highway Patrol, 210 eastbound. I want to guess, but I don't want to be wrong. I think we're right at Santa Anita. Right now is shut down completely, so the backup is going to start happening out here. Number of Highway Patrol right there because of the fact that this person may be armed. Sure, he's going to be doing exactly as he's being told. Right now, he's down on his knees, hands behind his back. Usually, they have him get a little bit closer, especially with an armed suspect in there. But you know what? I don't want to armchair anything. Those guys are the professionals. I'm a camera guy that talks on television. Right now, though, you can see them, the weapon's out, and you can see them right now, basically telling them, get up, come closer. I'm thinking. There you go.
I think you're right.
Because,
he's way too close to that truck.
And they also want to make sure Stewie doesn't jump back in and take off again.
Well, that's for sure too. But you know, even with the possibility that there's a weapon inside that vehicle, officers don't want to get that close. So right now, they're going to have them walk up to the car where they feel they have cover, in case that person in the vehicle has a gun and may shoot and take him into custody. There you go. He's down on the ground. Probably this spot's where they're telling him. I also saw a canine. I thought I saw a dog earlier on. So that was kind of interesting because I didn't know that California Highway Patrol had a dog. Right now, though, taking him into custody, the driver. Now, that suspect, that's the one we heard earlier on, may be armed. So this situation is not going to lessen like we've seen in the past. They're definitely going to tell that guy, stay in the truck. I'm sure that the command has been made already, and they're going to tell him stay in that vehicle, and you can see how serious these officers are taking it. These guys, weapons out. That guy actually has, other than a handgun, some sort of a long gun, so they are taking this very, very seriously. And the number of officers, look at how many they're out there. They got this thing shut down. They got the 210 shut down eastbound. Right now, the big one is going to be the passenger. They're going to make sure that guy is cuffed. And we're going to move Sky 9 just around a little bit because we want to see when this guy gets out. Not sure. Sometimes they'll tell him to climb across. They want to make it as inconvenient for that passenger as they can. So they might tell him to climb across over to the driver's side. But we're going to move right now and see what we can see from this angle. That passenger still inside that truck, in that passenger seat, just kind of sitting there. And we're going to see what this guy does here in a minute or two.
And based on the body language of that driver, Stu, you knew he was not going to be messing around. He was complying with the officer's orders right away. Hands went outside the truck, and he went right to his knees pretty close. So he knew it was over for him. It was done. And he wants to be able to, at some point, here we go.
There we go. He's getting out of the vehicle. And you know, if we're wondering why that mirror was still that way, it looks like the window didn't go down. He had his windows actually out that back window there, so that's probably one of the reasons.